Okay. So this is going to be exciting. We're going to go and explore these topics. I'm really excited because we don't know each other. We met like on the JV directory, had a short conversation yesterday, and just decided to explore this topic of identity and self-worth and how they intertwine over a few short videos. So when I think about the identity construct, or when I say the identity construct, what comes to your mind, and how do you think it relates to self-worth?
And firstly, I'm really happy to have these conversations, that this is a series that we are starting to help you to transform yourself. When I think about the identity construct, I'm thinking, what has someone learned by the environment, or what one person has been forced to do to feel safe, to get love, or to feel significant, to almost survive in the environment. And if we look at it from a mindset point of view, then what do they need to unlearn to find themselves? Tell me your version, Nicole.
Yeah, I think it's that paradox. I mean, the world life is made of paradoxes, and I find it so interesting how, as we grow up, we constantly hear about becoming someone. We have to learn to become someone, as if we're not anybody to begin with, right? We have to go to school, we have to find some kind of work that we identify with, and so forth. So it's as if we are bombarded with the idea that we have to create this identity that will be acceptable, that is worthy, that other people will recognize, so that, as you say, in terms of this self-preservation aspect, that we are accepted into the tribe, into the community. Because if we're not, from a more sort of self-preservation and a more ancient construct, if we were left alone in the wilderness, we couldn't survive, right? Alone, we're not beings that can survive alone. We are beings that have to be in a society in order to survive. So this whole thing about adaptation, about fitting in and building that identity around it, I find really interesting, because as we're constructing this identity, which is done in such a subconscious way, we have no idea that that's what we're doing until the day that we're faced with having become someone that we thought we were supposed to be, that was going to be worthy and happy. Because we hear this thing about, if you do this, then you can choose a job that you love, and then you'll be happy. Again, as if we're not happy to begin with, right? Then you'll be happy. One day you'll have a job you'll love. And then arriving at that space where, okay, I did everything I was told, I became who I thought I was supposed to be, and I'm not happy. I don't even know who I am anymore. And that's, where everything sort of comes in, and we get people in identity crisis and all that kind of stuff. And that's when, as you said, we have to start undoing everything. We have to start removing all these elements that we had adopted to actually start looking for ourselves.
Yeah, I agree. And then comes the chasing this, chasing that, the house, the shiny objects, the girlfriend, and and then you find yourself all around ticking every box, and yet no fulfillment, no happiness. How could this happen to you if you are watching this video series? Well, we're here, and we want to help you to dissolve these, sometimes I'm calling them mind viruses, about who you should be, or what you should achieve, or what will get you recognition.
Yeah.
You want to expand, Nicole?
I think a great starting point is to think about values. Because as John DeMartini said it so lovely, he said, if you and another person had exactly the same values, one of you would not be necessary. But the funny thing is, we adopt the values of our surroundings, of our parents, of our teachers, of our kids. So we're actually living by other people's values. And when we're living by other people's values, first of all, we're not living by our own. Some of them might be similar, but some of them won't be, because we will have certain values that are just, our own. And so the fulfillment cannot take place because we are ignoring some of our own values in order to fit in order to adapt. So I think a great starting point is actually to just become aware of these values that we have integrated into our life, and to consider, are they really mine? To what extent do I adhere to them? And are there any values of my own that I'm ignoring? And I think that's a great way to sort of start gaining awareness about whose life we're living. Are we living somebody else's life, or are we actually living our own life?
Love it how you've put it. If I turn around that question, I could ask you, have you realized that the environment has defined you and probably your values, and probably the first 12 years of your life? Mom, dad, any authority figures like teachers, whoever you've been putting on a pedestal. I think that's what John DeMartini uses, that word, where you've almost been suggested, and you've taken in all of those ideas and thoughts without examining whether they are serving you or not. And the identity crisis normally comes at midlife crisis, sometimes they call it, when one is start to see and confront the lack of congruency or loving their life, when things have to break down to then build a new life. And that's what we want to talk about. If you are not enjoying your results in life, probably in every area of life, then that environment has installed a map for your life, and now you're enjoying the results of those values that you've been programmed by. Is it time to wake up?
Yeah. Is it time to question those values? And I think, when we're going through this crisis, and as you so well mentioned, the midlife crisis, and there's also, the adolescence is also a bit of an identity crisis, right? Because we're rebelling against the values of society in a way. But what happens very often is that for a while we rebel, and at some point we come back in line, right? We adapt, and we end up getting back into that line that we were supposed to get into. It's rare that we actually really push it all the way to stepping into our own self. But in those moments, what's happening is there are all these triggers, right, around us. There are things that annoy us. There are things that constantly nagging at us, saying, this is not who you are. And I think that's where triggers are such a powerful thing, because rather than think, I'm always angry, I'm always discontent, it's actually your true self telling you you're just not in alignment with who you could be, who you are supposed to be. You're trying to live somebody else's life. And rather than get annoyed and question our own self-worth by our feelings and our behavior and so forth, to actually say, okay, this is a part of me just telling me it's time to look at these values. It's time to look at who I'm trying to be and see if that's actually who I want to be. And so rather than, push them away and get angry, just say, okay, this is a sign. This is a sign that something needs to be addressed and questioned. And, I can be grateful for that moment, even if it's painful, even if it's uncomfortable, to say, okay, let's look at this. Thank you for letting me see that I'm not living the life that I really could be living. So, yeah. There's a lot to explore, and that's why we're doing 5 sessions of this, right? And I think probably for today that's already a lot of information, a lot to play with. And I don't know what you think, but I think I'm getting very excited about the follow-up sessions that we're going to have, because we can go into the whole thing about baggage and patterns, and how we can bring play into all of this, and how we can let go of an identity that we don't want, because all of that is a process. All of that takes awareness and, slow picking. So I think for today, just focusing on those values would be a great place to start. What do you
Yeah, I
think?
love this conversation, and probably the next one will be around baggage. And just to excite you a bit, probably we would love to talk about how extreme you could slide either the same patterns or the opposite patterns that will hit you in the face in life, and how you could unravel, untangle yourself from the grip of the past. Well, I think our time is up,
Yeah,
and we'll see you again within a week or two. And I loved this conversation. You have any last words, Nicole? Please tell us.
I'm just, well, if anybody has any questions or wants to explore this theme any further, of course they can contact either one of us. But I'm just really looking forward to the next conversation, going a little bit deeper with this theme. So
Yes,
yeah,
please
yeah.
figure
Thanks.
out what drives you and where you are lacking, the results that you're looking for. Take care and
Okay.
be your best version.
Bye.
Bye.